My name's Kevin LaNave. I'm the director of a nonprofit organization located in St. Cloud, Minnesota, called the Center for Service Learning and Social Change. I've been doing that now for 10 years. Prior to that, I taught high school for 18 years, and I had a combination of a class that looked at social issues in the community, and the school had a service requirement, and so it was an opportunity to help students both learn academically and learn in a community-based setting. My own journey into that work, though, goes back to how I was raised. Around the dinner table, we had conversations as I was growing up about political and social issues. And one of the topics I remember from my adolescence was hearing about the grape boycott and the United Farm Workers and Cesar Chavez. And my first year in college, I was looking through the list of options for January interim and came across the opportunity to spend 3 weeks at the headquarters of the UFW in Keene, California. And that sounded interesting to me, so I signed up for it. And I went out there thinking that I was really going to, well, I knew I was going to meet Cesar Chavez, and I thought that was going to be the highlight of my experience. And it certainly was, it was a memorable part of the trip, but it wasn't the most significant. I'd say the most significant, impactful memories of that experience were two. One was seeing poverty and oppression for the first time close up. And the most vivid memory I have of that is driving through the Central Valley of California and seeing occasional fields in which there were railroad cars without any wheels on them. And, you know, there weren't railroad tracks for miles around. And I realized, you know, I was told, that's where the migrant workers stay when they're picking these fields. And it just blew me away. It's like, human beings get treated like this? That doesn't make sense to me. That seems so wrong to me. But equally impressive, impactful, I should say, was the experience of the migrant workers themselves. They weren't picking those fields at the time. They were living in trailer parks, and we would leaflet, encouraging them to come to community meetings. And they'd been doing different things, you know, for the day to work, and then they would come out in the evening, and I remember them, you know, being mobilized, talking about being involved in addressing the issues that affected their lives, you know, trying to grow the union. And I remember the song De Colores being sung, and this real sense of a heartbeat in the room, a collective sense of we care about this, we want our lives to be better. And I was really impressed by that. I didn't expect that. I think I expected, you know, sort of helpless people needing to be rescued. And what I found instead was resilient people who had something to learn from. I remember coming back to college after that experience with a deep sense that I couldn't be the same. I didn't know what that meant, but that something had shifted in me. And a couple of places that I knew right away that something was different. One was I walked into an accounting class at the beginning of the next semester, and I looked at the book and I listened to the opening day's, you know, lecture, and it's like, I can't do this. And I was good with numbers, and I had thought that accounting might be a major of mine, and I just like, I can't do this. Now, since then, I would have to say that I would honor people who can do accounting ethically, because I think that's possible. I think it's a legitimate human activity. But at that moment, with that experience, something had shifted in me, and my heart wasn't in that anymore. The other place that I knew it was I was working at McDonald's at the time. That was how I was getting through college, making money in part-time work. And I remember putting like lettuce and tomato onto sandwiches and wondering, who picked this? And realizing that I was part of a system that I had learned was unjust in some significant ways. And I knew that I had to act in some way to address that. I didn't know how. And that began an exploration for me academically into fields that looked at social issues. I got interested in political science. I got interested in philosophy. I was at a Catholic university, and so theology was part of it. And so sort of the ethics of living in the world became a very important central concern of mine. That shaped my undergraduate work. I ended up majoring in philosophy and minoring in theology, and then motivated me to first work at a residential treatment center for emotionally disturbed youth. I was a youth ministry coordinator for 5 years. And then when I went into the classroom, I went in with a sense of, I'm concerned about helping young people understand issues like this and finding ways to address them.